Now, one of the biggest obstacles to overcome in any union is the individualities of two parties involved. When it comes to disciplining a child, both parents typically might have different approaches, owing to their own upbringing, their individual personalities. Parenting and family life coach, Izefua, is right here with us to talk about this. And how exactly do we handle this issue of parental differences, you know, especially when it comes to child discipline? Izefua, you're the only person I could ask this question.
So, so today's one of those days that I'm going to be very vulnerable.
Okay.
Because this is an experience that I had to deal with last week.
Oh, wow.
And so I decided we should talk about it. I have parents ask me a lot. So you talk about a respectful way of disciplining your children, firm and kind approach. But my wife does not buy into this. And a lot of times we conflict. So what do we do?
Okay.
So my story, so last week, I may not share the details, but generally. So last week I had a situation where my husband had to intervene in a situation I was trying to deal with one of my children.
Okay.
And I actually thought immediately that his intervention was not appropriate.
Okay.
So what did I do? I immediately started to give signals for him to stop what it was that he was doing and do something differently.
Okay.
So the first thing in how do we there is, did I have to interfere when he was doing that or attending to the child? No.
Okay.
We have to come to that place where we respect each other's point of view, each other's differences as spouses.
Okay, so the word discipline means different things to different people.
Yes.
So I'm thinking as a mom, if I feel that my husband is being too harsh physically,
yes,
I'm going to step in at some point.
So yes, I'm going to step in, but a lot of times what happens is when there is conflict, we cannot step in when there is conflict. The reason is because the person dealing with the child at the moment is already probably in a stressful situation. And I've talked about this before. When you're under stress, we all revert to our reptilian brains, where when there is someone coming at you, that a person acts as though you want to prevent me. We either fight, we freeze, or we flee. So at that time, if you're stepping in and saying to your spouse, stop that, don't do that, you are actually saying indirectly to the spouse, interpretation is, you're wrong and I'm right.
Okay.
And then what happens when someone does that to you, you're going to attack, particularly because this is before the child.
Okay.
Are you trying to say, I'm a bad parent and you are the good parent? Those are the interpretations. So should we step in? Yes, of course. If I find, like you said, find your spouse doing something that seems abusive to you, there should be an opportune time.
Okay.
Where, now, if it's excessive, you know that you could kill this child, you know that's that's not the scenario we're talking about. Of course, you're going to step in and take the child out of the situation. But say that the parent gave the child a slap or used certain languages you thought were not appropriate, you could call the parent aside. The key is, it should be done in the privacy of your room and not before the children.
Okay, so now I have a feeling, you know, that more children seeing this kind of argument, this kind of disagreement, than less.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how exactly is it affecting the children when they see this?
So two things. First of all, there is the, let me start with what I always ask. What are you teaching the child in that moment?
Okay.
So in the moment where both of you are having a face-to-face argument, in that situation, how is your child learning conflict management? Okay. How is your child learning how to resolve disputes? Of course, the child is learning the negative way to do that. That is on the one side. On the second side, of course, a child that consistently witnesses abusive situations, quarrel, violence, and all of that, there is the emotional side that affects the child. There is the blame issue where the child begins to feel, this is about me. It's all my fault. There is something wrong with me.
It's because of me that mommy and daddy
are fighting. There is something wrong with me. And of course, all of that goes to affect the child psychologically. The effect may not be an immediate thing when you say the child is, but in the long run, if this behavior continues between the spouses, then you have a child who is even... So imagine that this happens in the morning and your child is on his or her way to school.
It's completely shattered this child's mind.
Focus, attention.
Okay. I'm thinking, you know, there are more domineering partners than others.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, yes, one of them is usually quite quiet.
Absolutely.
One of them is usually more outgoing or outspoken, or usually does the disciplining. So I'm thinking, should there be one partner doing the disciplining, or should it be both of them?
To be honest, I believe strongly that if God gave us two parents, we both have something to contribute to the well-being and the discipline of our children. Let's not forget what discipline means. It actually means to teach. It means to train.
Okay.
I always like to keep that in focus. So both parties should be responsible in training and teaching the children. Okay. So in the situation where one is more domineering than the other one, so we would call it permissive and authoritative, right? Okay. In that situation, it's helpful for partners to have conversations. I would say to couples that are not yet married, I think this is so fundamental. You should sit down and talk about, how do we want to discipline these children? How do we want to address these? Those conversations should be had. Okay. And then you say the differences come through. And then parties should be flexible and change. Okay. I know that you may never be as laid back, and you may never be, but when you focus on the goal, I always say focus on the solution, and you know this is what we're trying to achieve. The question is, how do we get there? Would a punitive method raise us holistic children? Would a permissive method raise us holistic children? If it wouldn't, what will? Educate yourself together, talk about it together, learn from it together. You could even have signals, because there are times, because of habit, you're going off as a parent. Agree that if I'm going off,
you show me.
Can you just show me? So if you agree, it's no longer disrespectful. Can you show me? Can you help me?
Therefore, at this conversation, you know, we never have enough time to keep it going, but we always have the online platforms. And of course, we have an email address now. You can send an email to us, and we'll make sure Izefua is able to see it. It's wakeupnigeria@tvcontinental.tv. As soon as you send in your mail, we'll be able to, you know, understand your perspective on this issue of discipline in the home, of course, when it comes